Hey folks, Ken here. How are you doing? Slightly different one today. What I'm going to do um, is give the screens on the drum a good clean. Now you can see, or I don't know if you can see, there's a bit of sort of brown, probably algae or biological, whatever you want to call it, on it, which isn't great because it does block the screen, and it just means that the drum will be washing more often, probably wasting electricity and water. Now I did watch a video, Koi Diaries. Andy has a Queni Koi drum. Now it's not a combi, it's just a drum, and he was doing a similar job. What Andy did was he took out the waste gully, he undid these bolts here, slid it out the back. Now there is a seal there, a silicone seal. It's just the tube stuff. You can see mine's gone a bit blue from FMG treatments. Andy broke that seal, but he said, you know, when you put the yoke back in, there's enough of it there that he's never had a leak when he puts it back in, and he took this out and then was able to get more access to the inside. However, I think there's a better or an equally as effective way of doing it. And I found before, when I did damage a screen just over a year ago, it looked clean on the outside, but when I actually took it off, it wasn't. There was a lot of debris, and while you think the nozzles on the, you know, they are very strong, would wash it very effectively, they don't, and it does build up over time. So what I'm going to do in this video is take off the screens and show you how that's done. And I also want to look at the seal, because I'm getting a bit of silt on the clean side. I've noticed a bit more than usual. Now there always is silt that goes through this. This is 120 microns, which is on the sort of more porous end. I know DVS do a 60, but you know, obviously if you add a much smaller pore screen, it means that your water throughput is going to be much slower, and also the drum will probably wash more often. So it's not really a direction I want to go. So the first thing I do is I take off just a screw. There's a union here, you can see, and I can take off very easily the spray bar. So that gives me more access, and you can see there's just a shape, a flat edge on this thing, so there's only one way the spray bar can go to make sure it's angled well enough. And I'll just stick that up there out of the way. There is a little rubber thing, but when I've done this before, it does tend to stay there. We've Tarzan knocking on the door. Hold on a second. All right. So then, in order to get the drum screens off, there are two of these on opposite each other. They're held in by hex bolts. They just screw directly into the plastic screen, you see, and there's two very large Jubilee type clips, and I need to undo those as well. I don't undo them completely, I can just undo them enough that I can actually slip them over the end here out of the way. And then there's a little ledge here in the drum, and I can just lift the screen from this side and then pull it out, and that should free it up. So I won't bore you with me taking the bolts out. I'm going to do that now, and I shall come back to you in a second. Okay, I've taken out these. They're H4 hex bolts, as you can see. What I normally do is just loosen them by hand, and then I use the drill just to zip them out. So I've taken the four of them out, just put them aside there. I can then take off this steel bar that has a seal on either side. It's just a rubber seal. It's in okay sort of condition. Put that up here. You can then see that the screens are actually in two. So they are, that's the join there. So there's two sort of semi-cylindrical pieces to the seal. And I'll show you them in a second. Now what I want to do is I'm going to turn on the drum. What I'll do is to stop. So there's sort of three plugs on my drum controller. There's a motor for the drum filter, which is this, which turns the drum around. There's a shaft goes through here down to the drum. There's the cleaning pump, which you can just see the top of it there in the corner. So what I want to do is to be able to turn the drum so as I can get the other steel plate off, and then I will undo those two large Jubilee clips. So what I'm going to do now is I'll turn off both pumps so they don't come on. Actually, that third one is for the circulation pump. It goes into this socket, and I have three pumps. The waterfall one I'm not using, just the shower and the main pond. And I will now turn on the drum, and I have a manual button here. And if I just oh, I didn't unplug the cleaning pump. That's what it is. After telling you I did it, I had done it now. As you can see, there's a fair amount of pressure comes out of that. No harm done. It is a shed. So we will now turn sans water jet, and you can see the other steel plate. I will now turn off the drum. It's important because there's a couple of times I've been working on this and it goes off for some reason, and it can be dangerous, particularly if you have your arm in there, as you'll see in a second. So what I'm going to do now is take out all these 4 screws, take that plate off, and then I'll turn it around so I can get at the big Jubilee clips. Okay, so we've got our 2 metal bars off. I then move the drum again. I've got these loose, and now I could undo them and take them off, but I thought I actually was able to sling them over here, but I don't seem to be. Thinking again, I was possibly that I just pushed them down here. And what I then do is go down to the seam in the drum, which is under here, if I can do it. Yeah. And you can see there's a lip here, and the seal is just, it does take a bit of manoeuvring. There we go. There's a bit of rubber there as well. It's probably not ideal. Must have a look at that and see. Is that, I feel I'm getting a little bit of leakage here, guys. That's why I want to look at the seal. So this is one off, handy enough. Now you can see here, now of course I didn't clean the drum, but there is a fair bit of dirt in there. Not great. Now I wouldn't be too worried about it accumulating because it's not really necessarily in the pond, or a lot in the pond. There's a bit of dead algae there in the leaf that was in it, so I might have to drag over the what do you call it, the vacuum, and just give this a vacuum out after. So that's one we have off, as you see, the semicircular. Now what I'm going to do, hopefully the other one doesn't fall off in the process, is just move this around again. You can see, you have a good view of the seal there. You see the blue thing. It's normally white, but again with FMG it's gone blue. But it does look like a pretty, no, actually there is a gap. I just see a gap there. Do I? Which we may address. You can also see the waste gully here as well. So as I explained in my last video, nozzles are here, drum passes over, all the waste is on the inside of the drum, gets flushed into the gully, and the water moves it back out through there into the drain. Maybe I'll just put those in there. It's probably the easiest bit. The gully's actually not too bad. Seen it worse. I do give it a reasonable flush out. I do have this gully wash thing as well. Sorry, just let me get some paper towel. That used to be a electronically operated valve, and every 10 washes it would open and flush this out. I know you do it manually. It got like an ugly thing. It's big. The top of it wasn't stainless steel. It rusted. So when I broke my spray bar, you'll see it in an old video, repaired it, but decided to replace that with a 20-inch ball valve, and I just open it manually. The reason why it's not the gully doesn't work all the time, because you can see the pipe, well, you probably can't, there's a black, this is the feed to the gully, and there's a black pipe you can see down there, just about goes around and in here. There's a lot of water goes through it, and if I leave that open, as I have done at times, it does drain down the pond. The trickle in just cannot keep up with it, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do now is twirl the drum around again. What I might do is just move these down here to stop the drum falling off, just in case it does. It shouldn't come out that easy. So on we go again. Pumps are off. Twirl around. Yeah, I'm interested to see where that bit of seal hanging through is. And then that's about right there. Turn this off again. Important, guys, when you've got your hand in here, you want the drum turned off. You don't want a broken arm. And you'd be surprised the strength that motor has. Don't ask me how I know. I didn't break my arm, by the way, but I had a near miss. So we're going to lift this up again. That one was a bit easier. And get it out underneath there. And up she goes. And again, you will see, yeah, it's not very clean. So I'm going to give it a bit of brick acid. You know what, I've seen worse, but I just wanted to give it a go and make sure the drum is running optimally. I'm feeding a lot at the minute. And as I say, have a look at that seal as well. So the seal, yeah, there seems to be a gap here. If I look around, you can see fairly well. It's looks okay. You can't see too well, but the bubbles don't help. I'm going to turn this off for the minute. This should be okay for 5 minutes. Just let everything settle. The bubbles will keep coming for a while because there's pressure builds up at the bottom drain. It's on the bottom drain line, this air stolen here, so there's still pressure to the bottom drain that keeps coming back up to that air stone for a few minutes. So it'll stop now in a second when we get a better view. You can see the way this is made up. It's just sections of I don't know what you call it, PVC, but it's made up and can be taken apart. There's brushes in here that help. What do they help do? They're not facing in the way I would expect them. Well, they are. Yeah, I suppose. I'm not too sure what the brushes are supposed to do. They don't clean the screen anyway. Of course, they'd move with the screen. More algae. Oh, you know what that is? That's actually orange. I gave them an orange yesterday. It's bits of orange. Right, those bubbles are nearly stopped. And we have that seal hanging out. I'm just going to move these down here out of the way. Definite. There's a kink. No, that's not a kink. It's just the way the water is. Just wondering if I do have a problem there, or am I just imagining it? No, there is a problem. You can see the seal is slightly lifted there. So what I can do is I can get a screw, undo a screw. You can just see the screws here, and the seal goes into a groove and then is held in place with those screws. So if I undo a screw, it's okay there. Now, the only thing is, it's okay. There was a bit here, and I undid the screws and massaged it around. It's not the greatest way. I did the seal with the screen in place, which is not a great idea. Yeah, I see there's a rubber seal there. There's also an opportunity to give all this a bit of a clean, although there's dirt on it, but it's not the kind of dirt that would disrupt the seal on it. I'll probably just get that back in as best I can, that seal. I need 2 hands to massage this seal back into place. And I'm going to get wet. Other than that, it looks okay. I mean, you can see, you know, there's obviously, that's the hub of where the dirt from the pond goes, and I will give this a quick wipe down. You can't get it perfectly clean, but I'll give it a wipe down, and then I'll give the bottom a quick vac out. But you can imagine if you have your hand down there doing something, guys, and this goes off, it won't be good. So you need, now I have, obviously it shouldn't because the pond level is up and all the rest, but you don't take chances. You could hit the flow switch or something like that and set it off. So it's always important to make sure that you keep it turned off. Now I just want to turn around and see where that seal is bad. Yeah, just there. Now it's probably something I can just put back into the, where does it go? Into the top or into the back? No, it's just into the back there. Yeah, that's okay. It just pushes back in, sorry. It was probably adhesive at some stage, but yeah, that's not an issue. So it's just a matter of giving these a clean, which I'll do now, and I'll give this a wipe down, and then putting it back together is the reverse of what I did, but I find it's a better way. Like this, the gully is, the full weight of the gully is on those few screws you see there. There's nothing else supporting it. There's nothing else to support it. The drum is supported by, you can just see, that's where the drive shaft goes in, but it ends, it doesn't go through the drum. And then there's rollers down here that the drum sits on. And so that's what supports the weight of the drum. Now the drum isn't, as you can imagine, very heavy. It's quite a light structure anyway. But that's basically how they work. And I know this is a DVS / Queni Koi, but they all kind of work in the same way in terms of the screens and so forth. It's all basically the same thing. There is an awful lot of crap in there. I'll have a look and see if I need to get the thing over. So what I'll do is, now it's a bit windy outside and it's sunny and then it's raining. We're getting, it's back to that normal Irish weather where we get the full 4 seasons in the one day, but such is life. So I'm going to take these out now. So I use brick acid. I use neat brick acid. And I have then, as I've shown before, my little battery operated hand power washer. Now we do have a hose pipe ban, but I am maintaining the pond. It won't use much water to clean those down. I'll give them a quick power hose down. Then I will spray them with brick acid. I have a brush here that I rub it in with. Leave it for a few minutes and then I power hose them off. So I'm going to do that. I'll need 2 hands, guys, so I can't really video it. I will show you the finished. As I said, they're not that bad, you know. I've seen worse, but there is enough there in terms of the biological build-up and the bit of dirt. They do need a manual clean. Like, drums are not completely maintenance free. Now this is probably a 2 or 3 times a year job that I do, so it's not the end of the world. I know the Oasis are actually better because I've seen Phil, you know, his just clip off and he's a second set and he puts the new set in and puts these soaking to descale them and do whatever he does, which is that's Telford Koi Pond Phil. If you've looked at his videos, the Oasis are kind of different. I said these are all the same. Most are the same. The Oasis, while the principle is the same, the way the drum is made and the way it works is slightly different. So you can see as well that, you know, when you buy a full seal, that's the way you get it. So there is this PVC frame to it that the seal sticks to, and that's the whole bit you get. Again, they are light, but just check. It allows me to check for holes as well. Aha. Are they holes? No, they're not. They're just reflections of the water. But you don't obviously want holes. They're not a good thing. Yeah, so I'm going to turn on my bubbles again. I'll give these a clean and then I'll come in and I'll look at that screen, and then when I have it all back together, I'll talk to you again. As I said, the taking it, putting it back together is not that difficult. The cleaning is not that difficult. It's just knowing how to do it and where to start. By the way, these are the bolt holes for these bolts. If you've ever worked on cars or anything where you screw metal into plastic, you need to be careful. You over tighten these, you ruin any thread that's in the plastic. So it's really just, what I do is, it takes a good while to screw them in. I screw them in till they're close to tight, and then I hand tighten them. And you're really just talking about a nip and a bit to tighten these. You don't want to over tighten them, anything like that. Okay, I shall come back to you in a few minutes, hopefully when everything's back together and I haven't broken anything in the process. Talk to you in a sec. Right, so on the seal, you can't really see, my torch is given out. It is sitting better. I did undo the screws that hold the seal in place and manipulate it a bit. Didn't make much difference, so I undid this hex bolt you can see here that allows the drum move slightly back and forward for adjustment on the rollers, and that seems to have so far given me a good seal all round, so I'm happy enough with that. I'm not too sure if those things are ever 100% anyway, to be honest, but it's pretty good. And while it might be showing a little gap on this side, it's where the seal hits the drum on this side. It could still be okay, so I'm not so sure. But anyway, all is good. I gave here a bit of a clean. You know, this stuff here, I could probably get something to give it a really good clean, but to be honest, it's not really worth it in my opinion. I gave the screens a good clean with the brick acid. Managed to get some brick acid on myself, which is not a great idea. As you can see, they are a lot better. I think even the spray, never mind the brick acid, does, you know, the power wash on the inside. What I have done in the past is done the screen in situ. So just put on the brick acid, massaged it in, sprayed it off down into the gully and moved the drum around and did it in bits. Cleans the outside, but it doesn't really do the inside. So maybe I will say once a year or twice a year do it while they're in situ, and a couple of times a year take them off, and then make sure the dog doesn't wee on them, although strictly speaking that might help clean them further. There's not much debris in the bottom, but I might just bring the vac over and give it a vac out while I'm at it and do it properly. I better just switch this back on because the fishies have no circulation, and the pond is at 23, so you know they'll be fine for an hour or so, but I don't like to stress them. This as well, you'll notice, is an overflow. So when the water goes up, as it has done the odd time, it flows over and out the waste gully. Now I have an overflow in the skimmer, which I probably didn't need. And I remember Patrick, rest him, unfortunately he's no longer with us in DVS, I was asking him about these, and I said, you know, there's no seal in these. I asked him once, what happens if the water goes up there? And he said, don't worry about it. And he meant don't worry about it because it will overflow into this before it gets up there. They're just little holes with covers that the various cables pass through. Yeah, that's what he meant. Don't worry about it because it overflows down here. So I probably never need it. Now the only thing is, if I had this shut down, I don't have an overflow, so it's probably handy to have it if I had this closed off. Yeah, it does as well work as an overflow. So anyway, what I'm going to do is give this a quick vac out, which you don't need to see either. I am then going to start putting it back together. I'm trying to work out what that brush does there. Judging by the lack of wear on it, not an awful lot. There's only one on it. And it's pointing away from the... Now maybe what it does is it cleans the edges of this. Now the only thing is, it'll clean the edge in here and it'll clean it over the edge here. Maybe that's what it does, I don't know. But there's not much wear on it for a 5, nearly 6-year-old filter. Yeah, anyway, if you have any answers as to what the brush is supposed to do, let me know. But it's certainly not cleaning the screen because it moves with it and it's pointing in the right direction. So anyway, let me go and get the trusty Pongvac 4, and I will then put everything back together and talk to you then. Right folks, I have them back in situ. Now it is important to line them up. You see the holes here on the drum frame itself, and there's sort of cutouts, notches at the end. So the end of each semi-cylinder, they have to meet there, and that's where your steel plates go on. So what I'm going to do now is you line up the two big Jubilee clips or straps, whatever you want to call them. They're probably more straps. You line them up, one at the end, one in the middle. You don't need anything at this end because you have this gap in here that they slide under. So I'm just going to tighten them up the same way as you tighten any Jubilee clip. Then I will put the steel plates in place, and the job is hopefully a good one. I'm still picking crap out. I did give it a vac, but yeah, there you go. Right, I shall pop back to you in 1 second. Okay, I have the first steel plate on, and then what I do is I start these by hand, make sure they're on the right threads, and then I screw them in with the drill, but they're not fully tight. What I'm going to do now is, with one hand, is just give them a nip. Just going down till they tighten fully. Okay, that's tight. This is a seal as well, guys, so it is important that it's tight, but I don't like knocking these things home with a drill. Same as watching people working on cars when they hammer stuff home with an electric tool. I always think, if it's not a big nut, you're taking a risk that you might do damage. There's nothing better by hand. I'm not a mechanic, by the way. I just tend to do a lot of this stuff myself. Good seal on that. It has to be tight, but not that you're swinging out of it. So you'll see I'm not using the full length of the wrench because you can easily overestimate the amount of leverage. It's much easier just to do it up at the head like that and tighten them. They're nice and tight. I also tighten these. I don't know if they're the straightest in the world. Again, with these guys, that one could be a little bit tighter. They're just snug. Once they start to tighten up, you're nearly done. Don't overdo them because this stuff is only plastic and you will crack it very easy. All they're doing is, they're holding stuff in place, and these are then providing the seal. That's all they're doing. So what we do now is, I broke my own rule there. I didn't have this turned off, but I didn't have my hand in it. If it moved, it wasn't the end of the world. So we shall move around to the other side. Are my holes lined up? They are nicely there. So I put on the other seal, and again, you can see they're slightly out of line there, but sure, that one does need to be tightened up slightly. There's movement in it, but this one is tight enough. So I put on the other steel bar. I just give them a clean to make sure this rubber seal is okay. They're not brilliant, but they are clean. And then I will put in the 4 bolts I have here, and that's the job done. Well, I'll have to put the spray bar back on, but that's... Alright, that's in there. Started. This one's in here. Again, nicely started. That one in there. Nicely started. And that one in there. Started. So then I take my where's my finger? Try not to put my finger over it. Take my drill. I have it at the lowest torque setting, so I can't over tighten these. I just tighten them down. Probably have a bit to go. This is just to speed the job up, guys, because you'll be forever turning these with that. Not a necessity, but you would be forever. And again, I will tighten them up by hand, so I won't bore you with that. I will swing this around and just give that another little tighten, but that's it. So I'll swing back at the end and just do a quick sum up on it. Right, that's all back in place. So I've the last one screwed in. I tightened up this. I moved this one in, loosened it and move it in slightly more, but they are just tight. As I say, nothing's over tight. I have a good seal there. I have my spray bar back in. And maybe we'll just do a demo. So I will plug back in my pump. What I'll do is as well turn back on my pump and the shower. It might get a bit noisier here now, and let's just do a quick rinse here. You'll see it does soak the back, but let's not worry. Looks good. It's a good idea to do that as well, just to check the jets, because I've had in the past, now you tend to see a sort of a dirty streak on the drum, but I have seen in the past where one of the jets is blocked. They're easy enough to clean. I just screw it off, and if you give them just push it through with a pin. It's usually in the harder water areas. It's a little bit of calcification, but that's it. The wall's wet, but that dries up very quick any time of year, to be honest, once it's indoors. No harm giving it a rinse there, just to make absolutely sure that the acid is off. It looks a nice cleaner. You know, it takes an hour or so. Take your time. It's not really a big job. It's the way drums are designed to be able to come apart every now and again. I would, advise maybe twice a year, once a year maybe if you want, but to do that job and making sure your drum is working optimally. But that's it. I'll leave it at that. If anyone's any comments, I might just tag Andy in Koi Diaries, let him have a look at this so he's aware. Interesting to get his perspective. Not what Andy's doing is wrong. This is just a different way of doing it. I love Andy's videos. He goes into some great detail. And he has a similar drum to mine as well, which makes them more interesting. But any comments, let me know. By the way, I have snails I'm noticing. You can see one there. And there's a bit of white tufts of stuff around the drum, which I think is eggs. If anybody's had a snail infestation, do I worry about it? Do I treat it? I presume something like flubanol or one of the fluke treatments would kill it off. Or do I need to? Probably not, unless they get really nasty. I've had them in aquariums, to be honest, guys, in a African cichlid tank. They came in on something, probably in a bag of water from a fish shop. I'd say one Malaysian trumpet snail, and there were thousands of them. And I tried everything, cut back the food, fished them out, put in bait. Nothing worked. And then by sheer accident, I found this treatment recommended for shrimp tanks on a shrimp forum that kills them, that doesn't kill shrimp. And now I didn't have shrimp in the African tank, but I did in another tank, and I put this stuff in, just little tablets, and it killed them. It wouldn't be a pond treatment. Now I have flubanol. Now it's a bit out of date, but flubanol probably would have done the job as well. Anyway, flubanol and shrimp, sorry, wouldn't do the job. A flubanol with fish would be all right. So that's it. Any comments, let me know. I've now got to go away and piece all this together, which is not my usual MO when it comes to a video. I generally do them in one go, but not possible with this one. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.